Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of this here United States and the universe, welcome. Oh, and our beautiful 23 followers, welcome to the Dad Religion Podcast. I'm Jason, that's Jim, and we are going to shoot the shit a little bit today, just talk about a few things, no real agenda. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty well, man. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. It's hot as fuck out here. Excuse my language. Excuse my French.
You still in the stretch of time with over 100 degree days?
Yeah, last night it was like 10:30 at night. I was talking to my mom on the phone, and it was still like 94. I think it was like my car said 106 yesterday. So.
Yep.
I just got back from Boston, and I was working up there, and it was like 42 degrees. I mean, it was raining, but man, it felt great. And I got off the plane here, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, couldn't breathe. Yeah.
I was at a concert last night in Chula Vista, and it was, we had to wear flannels with hoods. It was cold.
Ooh, good for you.
A little drizzly, actually, kind of nice. San Diego, cool. We'll be like,
yeah. So you're in the 60s, probably.
Yeah, it was in the 60s. So Simple Minds, nice. You're going to be seeing them in a few weeks. It's going to be a great show. You're gonna like Simple Minds. Your patience will probably be tried by Soft Cell. I'm not going to lie. They're not my cup of tea. They did the Tainted Love song. That was great. They did a great version of it to end their show, but just a lot of it just doesn't resonate with me. But Simple Minds, brah, they were awesome. That's a good band right there. You're going to like them.
Yeah, Soft Cell should probably just start with that and just play different versions of it all the way through their entire show, and then end.
They could lengthen it for 20 minutes. They really, really could. They were having fun with it. It was great. They had the audience for that song. They had the audience like singing along, this side singing and that side singing. The two backup singers came in, and they each did like full verses, which were, excellent. But
I'm going to be perfectly honest. This is not my cup of tea, but I'm down to see most anything. So we'll go and we'll have a good time, and hopefully it's better than I expect.
You should do well with Simple Minds, man. Even if you just pay attention to the drummer, but all of the instrument, all of the musicians are good instruments.
What do they sing? Really Don't good. You forget?
Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so that's the one that everyone's going to sing along with, which is always a cool moment to be at in a concert. It's just no matter who it is, when the whole crowd is singing along and they all know the words, there's like an energy. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
right?
I could tell you a story of that.
Yeah, you're going to dig that part. But they're going to have like 7 or 8 songs that you're going to be like, oh, I know that. I've heard that before. Some of them might have been on the soundtrack someplace on another movie. Others you might just have heard on the radio, didn't realize it was them. But every song is good. Every song's tight. They cover the instruments really, really, really well, and you're gonna dig it. It's like Squeeze. It's gonna be like that genre. I personally, even though I sing in an alternative 80s alternative band, the genre has issues sometimes with quality. There are some bands that are like one hit wonders, and what they did is not necessarily studio quality production, right? But Simple Minds is. They're off the chart. I dug them. They were one of the better concerts that we've seen in the 4 years that we've been going there. So I think you're gonna like them.
Yeah, when I saw Paul McCartney about a decade ago in San Diego, when the whole crowd at Petco, 60,000 sang "Hey Jude," all at the same time. I got goosebumps right now just thinking about him.
Yeah,
he's up there.
So right
from his piano. Oh my God! My whole arm, both arms are just full of goosebumps right now because it was so. I wouldn't say it was life changing, but it was like I was on drugs. It was so amazing, and it almost brought tears to my eyes. To be honest with you, just seeing it. and hearing it and knowing that, I mean, because you're a big Beatles fan, I'm a big Beatles fan, and just watching it in front of me with that many people was unreal. Unreal.
65,000 other people who kind of felt the same as you did.
It was unreal. It was unreal.
My personal opinion, even though my band sings that song that you're talking, the Simple Minds song, "Don't You Forget About Me," and it's fun to do. I love doing it. It is, in my opinion, by far not their best work. It's just that iconic song that was in the great movie, and people just know it and they know the video, and so it just kind of hits you in the heartstrings. But the rest of the show, also, man, fuck, they were outstanding. It's a treat. You're going to be treated because you're not expecting it to be good, and it's going to be really good. So, lucky you.
Lucky me. We'll see about that, Jim. We will see. I will on our next recording, our next adventure. I will let you know how lucky I. Well, I don't know. Actually, I can't tell you when they're playing here. It's sometime in June. So on one of these adventures that we have, I will let you know if I was actually lucky or not. I will be a harsh critic.
All right, that's a bet.
We shall see. So I've thought about this, and I've gone back and forth. I think I want to talk about something that's a tad bit, well, not even a tad bit, that is really controversial, especially right now. I just want to have a nice conversation on Israel and Palestine. Now, I know people are like, shut it off. Shut it off. We can't listen to this. This is a really hard subject to tiptoe around, and I'm going to do my best. And I'm hoping you're going to do your best too. There is a lot of people who are on one side, a lot of people on the other. It's very controversial when you pick one side or the other. There's no middle ground. As I kind of think it kind of should be that way, I guess. I don't know if there's any other way around it. I'm just going to say that, well, you know what? Let's just get into it. There was an attack. There was 2 murders that happened on Thursday at the Jewish, I can't remember the exact name, is museum.
The museum in Manhattan, right?
Huh?
Was it Manhattan?
Again, I'm not 100% sure. I should have done some notes on this, but either way, it happened. There was 2 employees of this museum walking out of an event when they were brutally gunned down at point-blank range by, I would say, a madman. That madman was pacing outside the museum for a while. People saw him. And this young, I believe they were a couple, came out, and he walked up to, there was 4 of them. He walked up to them, pulled out a gun, and shot them both, I believe, in the head, point blank range, which is absolutely horrible. As he was being, he then went into the museum where he was tackled and put in custody by security. As he was being taken away by the police, he was yelling, "Free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine." And I feel that these 2 young adults' life was taken from them all because of who they were born as, where they were born. And I think it's absolutely horrible. And I think it's gotten to this point that I don't know that we can come back from anytime soon. The gentleman that shot them was from Chicago. I believe he was of Hispanic descent. And I would say he's a radical. He's been radicalized, obviously. And I don't see any place in our society for that, no matter what side you're on. Thoughts?
So many. So first of all, yeah, everybody's so entrenched on this issue. So whatever side you're on, it's like These are like core identity issues for people, and when it gets like that, without any kind of mechanism in place to loosen that tension, things just they snowball. They get worse and worse. I've been thinking about how to talk about this, and there's so many things to say, Jason. So many horrific things to say about this that I wouldn't even really know where to start, to be honest. I have friends in this country who are liberal Jewish women, okay, and they are appalled about what Netanyahu has done in Palestine, and they're also afraid for their lives here in their own country because of something that they had nothing at all to do with. It's just this really terrible situation where normal divisions don't make sense. People are not lined up the way that they normally do over political issues in here with right and left. You've got people, Christian nationalists on this side, who take a very, very, very strong support of Israel role, even though Jewish people or the people of Jewish faith and people of Christian nationalist faith have never really seen eye to eye, especially Christian nationalists. They've got the reason why conservative Christians in this country support Israel so vehemently has nothing at all to do with Israel's struggle with the Palestinians. It's all about their own apocalyptic versions of the future where they believe that in order to bring about the end times, the Hebrew people need to occupy and rebuild the Temple of Jerusalem. It's one of those parts of those 7 mountain mandate. So you've got this whole huge group of people here in the United States who are supporting the war. Their skin in the game is not the same skin in the game as Netanyahu, who despite his psycho behavior, and I don't know how else to really explain it. Aside from his psycho behavior, you can at least kind of make an argument that maybe he went psycho because he's afraid for his home. If you're afraid for your home and your family and stuff, you can take leave of some of your more rational decision-making processes, right? But the people here in this country, the Christian nationalists, the ones who are underpinning the political support for Israel in this country, that's not their skin in the game. They're not afraid of anything like that. They're literally, trying to live out a fairy tale fantasy kind of a thing where they bring about the end of the world, and then they're the good ones who get taken up to heaven, and the rest of us get to stay down here with tribulations and all this stuff. It is literally being enabled by that faction in this country. And I don't know how to unscramble this egg. It's just, you and I listened to that podcast way back in the day now, Martyr Made. You're the one who sent it to me. And it was like 6 episodes. And it started all the way back in the gulags in Europe and why the Zionist movement began in the first place and started to move to Palestine. And the further back we went and the more information that I had, the less the whole thing made any sense to me at all, or that there was any signaling in my mind that there was an easy resolution for this. Those are my initial thoughts about how fucked up and hard this is to even just talk about.
Yeah, I'm not sure there is an answer. Obviously, I don't know the answer. I will say, October 7th was a horrendous day.
Horrendous.
It's horrible. Hamas is a horrible faction.
Evil
Evil faction. And
name.
I understand Netanyahu, I believe, kind of let his guard down that day, for a while. They didn't expect anything.
You sure it was an accident?
Huh?
You sure it was an accident that he let his guard down accidentally?
Yeah, I don't know if I can get into that one, but, you never know. But a lot of people were raped, murdered. A lot of innocent people were killed. A lot of children, that whole music festival, it's unreal. I can't fathom what they were going through and what happened. So I understand the initial response. I do. I understand it. What I don't understand is we're at a point now where there's so many children starving on a daily basis, like dying, starving.
to death.
It seems like they're not going after Hamas anymore. They're more going after citizens and regular people in the government, and he's not going to stop until there's a full extinction of the Palestinian population. And right now, it is a genocide. I would have to say that he's a war criminal at this point. The war crimes that are going on. I just don't understand, like, how no one is intervening to stop it at this. I mean, poor children, these poor innocent people. Not everyone over there. Okay, I understand the hate that they have towards each other, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say a majority of the Palestinian population was not Hamas, did not sign up for this. At this point, I mean, how big is the Gaza Strip? Was it 30 miles long? That's it.
It's small,
and it's pretty much rubble now. The whole thing. And it just blows my mind that no one is stopping this man from doing this, like, at this point.
Because honestly, Jason, the people who should have the moral underpinnings to stop this are the same people that I was just talking to you about, who are the underpinnings for why it's going on.
Yeah.
If these people paid attention to their own faith and paid attention to the life and teachings of the man who they named their religion after, okay, then they would be the ones who would step in and put an end to this, right? That's why this shirt today, honestly, this whole fucking thing over that little teeny strip of land, not worth World War III,
No.
not worth genocide, and the same people that are committing genocide right now, he should know better, bro. Netanyahu's not a dummy. It's not he's an uneducated man. It's not like he doesn't know his history. What political gain could you possibly get from starving children? That is just, and if that's what gets you political gain, then we're done, bro. That's weird, and I think the human race is on its way out. The earth should kick us off. That I'm honestly, we've outlasted our stay. We don't deserve to be here if that's what we're doing.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I think that could it be that he was caught off guard, and he's just so pissed off that he was caught off guard that he's just gonna bring hellfire. And again, I am not discounting the hostages. I'm not discounting absolute chaos and murder and everything that happened that day. So I see why this war started. I understand it. I understand that part of it. I just don't understand why it's still continuing at this rate of murder and starvation and genocide.
It's like what happened after 9/11, right? 9/11 happened, and we had every right to go to Afghanistan and deal with the people who architected that horrific attack against us and the ones who underpinned them, right? Who supported them and gave them their space. We did not have a right to go into Iraq under those pretenses. If you read like the 9/11 Commission report and do a little bit of background on that, and you see what it was that bin Laden was after, he actually wrote it all down. It was a fatwa. He explained everything that he wanted to do, a horrific attack against the United States in a vulnerable state to try and catch them and get them to commit to doing something horrific to then generate more resistance and anti-American, anti-Western sentiment because of our activities there, which is exactly what happened. He played us. I mean, he's dead now and he's feeding the fishes, and may he rest in pieces. But he played us, bro. We did exactly what he told us he wanted us to do. We played right into his hands, and Netanyahu's doing the exact same thing. There was a justifiable response.
Yeah, I don't think there is an answer. You know what I mean? I just kind of want to talk about it a little bit, and
we can stop shooting people, right? Like, I mean, for fuck's sake, in the United States now, where are the radicals, man? There's so many radicals on both sides, and they're all willing to do horrific things, bro. This is becoming a really dangerous place.
Yeah, the country that I'm living in now feels like a foreign land to me. I wake up every day and I just think to myself, where am I? What's going on? Like, how did people's thought process change so quickly over the last decade? How did we get here? And every day it just baffles me. But I think we're gonna see more bad than we are good to get back to the good. But I do feel we're a very resilient country in general. I know that's hard to think about, but I think in general, I think this is also just a passage in this country, one that we will probably look back on and not be too fond of. Everything goes through phases, right?
I hope so, bro. I hope
I mean,
so.
we got a great group of young people graduating and going into the workforce and going into the world that every day or every year that I think is going to change things. And the old guard is getting older, and I do believe that this is a last ditch effort by the old guard, and the old guard is losing support daily. I believe, not a lot, but a little at a time, and you know. I believe that we will get back to where we need to be. I think maybe this is just a reset.
Hard. It's a cold reboot, bro. It's hard.
Speaking
We
of
got a
the
lot of
reboot,
programs up and running.
Speaking of the reboot, let's talk about the big beautiful bill that just passed.
Oh yeah,
So,
that sounds like a great idea.
pretty weird name, but I digress. So this is a bill that was passed by the House, correct? Passed by the House. It failed the first time
By one vote.
by one vote. I think that what do you know of any changes they made to it to get it to pass?
No, full disclosure, I have not gone deep into this bill, or what I've heard is basically just what they discussed on Breaking Points and a little bit on NPR. So I have not. I do know that there were 4 or 5 Republican holdouts before, House member holdouts,
5.
and they had meetings with Trump. Is basically what it came down to. So I don't know if any of the language in the bill changed, but their feelings on it did. So, you know.
Okay. So I think of this bill as a transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich. There is
Poor
a lot of funding that was lost for Medicaid, SNAP, food stamps. They say, and again, I'm not an expert, that upwards of 14 to 15 million people lose medical coverage due to the loss of funding for parts of Obamacare. There's cuts to climate stuff to keeping us, healthy and on this planet. From what I'm reading, it's going to add $4 trillion to the debt in the next year or in the next 10 years, but that can definitely go up depending on what other things Republicans want to add to this bill. They said it could go up to $10 trillion in debt. And yeah, it doesn't seem like a great bill to me. It doesn't seem like it does much for anything but help the billionaires.
The uber rich.
And it adds more debt. They say the interest alone on this is higher than all of our defense spending, which is crazy. I know interest rates from this bill are not going to come down. When you have tariffs on things, they say interest rates are going to come down. We're going to be more self-sufficient. I find
you can't
it's
write
going to be
into a bill.
Huh?
You can't write interest rates.
No, they just say from everything as it goes through, it's going to eventually bring interest rates down. But when your tariffs are
because
high,
it's going to convince. We have a Fed. We've got a Fed chairman who and a board, and they decide where the
yes,
where
but the economy is going to be so great that they're going to be like, all right,
that they're going to
time to bring those interest rates down. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know, man. Tax cuts just don't work when you have tariffs. It just doesn't matter when you're paying more for stuff. It doesn't. What does a tax cut mean? You know what I mean?
It's what you said before, Jason. It's the transfer of wealth. First of all, it's those of us that are consumers that are going to be paying the tariffs if we continue to buy products that are not made in the United States, where a tariff is needed to be paid in order to bring that product in. The stores and the retail markets are not going to eat up that tariff. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, we're paying more on the taxes that we pay, and the uber rich, Mr. 500K a year dude is paying less on the money that he works for than you and I are paying on the money that we do work for.
Yeah,
it's fucked up.
It's
ridiculous.
There's also $800 billion in cuts to Medicaid. So,
of course there is, right?
I just
Very compassionate, very Christian, very Christian. I love it.
well,
I love it.
yeah,
I think it comes right out of Matthew. Honestly, I think that's right. Those are the Beatitudes right there. Someone read the Beatitudes, and then they went and said, so based on the Beatitudes, which is, by the way, those are red letters in the Bible. In case people are wondering, the red letters in the Bible are the ones that come out of the mouth of Jesus Christ, presumably, right? And these red letters in the Bible tell you how you're supposed to address the poor, how you're supposed to address the needy, what you're supposed to do with the sick, how you're supposed to deal with the hungry. And basically, all of these Christians have gone and given the red letters the big old right there.
grass. Woosah, Jimbo. Woosah. In through the nose,
We good. We good.
out through the mouth.
This is the one episode since the first that I wore the right shirt. This is it right here. That's all of it, Jason. It's all bad religion.
I think that I don't see how this helps us as Americans. I only see it hurting us. But in the comments, let me know. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. Maybe there's something that I'm missing. Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's plain as day and it's all there written out. Please prove me wrong. I would love that. I would love to be wrong about everything I talk about.
All of it.
I want nothing but success for this country. And I would love to be completely wrong about this administration and what they're doing. But the direction we're going, I don't foresee it. But I think we need to move on to something else. Because I think that this conversation probably could go really wrong.
No,
all I'm going to say is speak up. Everyone needs to be aware of what's going on in our country. Do not sit around and pretend like you don't know what's going on. Don't be blind to what is happening. Listen to what is happening. Think, like, is this sound right? Is this correct? This can't be right. Do some research. Just don't spout off. Do some research. Look into it. Great starting point is to download a little podcast called Breaking Points. Breaking Points is the best news source out there. Where they are they are independent, but they tell it how it is.
They source their material really well.
Yes,
they source themselves really well.
Two on the right, two on the left. They're going to tell you how it is. They're going to disagree, but they're going to tell you how it is. Breaking Points. Get it on Spotify. Get it on Apple Music. Get it on YouTube. And that's a shameless plug for them. They have no idea who I am or who we are, but
they are
great
source.
If I could get 12 of you to download it and listen to it, if I could get 2 of you, I'd be happy. It's a great news source, and you won't be disappointed. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. I don't know, but
no, it's a great way to have a conversation, Jason. They not only are they well informed and well supported with their material, but they discuss the matter like rational, decent human beings. There's no ad hoc or there's no ad hoc thinking. There's no ad hominem attacks. It's good report. It's good reporting. It's an entertainment show. They all are. Podcasts are. You should probably find some sources beyond that as well. But that's a really great starting point to de-radicalize your point of view. I'll tell you something else for people of faith. Prayer. Like the hard prayer, like the kind I talked about way back several episodes ago, where you prostrate yourself, where you fast, you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, turn your psyche over to the questions that you want to present to God, and then listen for those answers. Don't not prayer where everyone says the same thing together and you reinforce things that you already believed. I'm talking about that meditative, difficult kind of prayer where you turn yourself over to God and ask for guidance. That's the kind of prayer that I think is necessary right now, especially among people who are Christian nationalists and put
yourself in a comfortable position like I just put myself in the beginning of this podcast.
Yeah.
These are things I didn't want to speak of, but at this point, I feel I don't have a choice but to speak on some of these things. I don't know about you, Jim, but I don't want to get down the rabbit hole of who's right, who's wrong. I just want to speak
Oh,
of what I feel, how I feel about the situation, and how Jim feels about the situation. Um, and I mean, I think that's good for us. These are just like our normal conversations, but a little less rough.
we're just we're just dads, just a couple of
Yeah,
dads
we need to get. I
working.
think we need to get back to the dad situation. What is your daughter's going back to school, right? Or is she done with school completely?
Uh, Younger daughter, no, she is continuing her education. So staying in Long Beach, and she's going to take a couple of. She's got 3 prerequisite classes that she has to take before she can apply for the graduate's program in occupational therapy, which is what she wants.
Awesome.
It's something that she probably should have taken her freshman or sophomore year, but occupational therapy wasn't really on her radar at that point yet. She's gone and worked for the YMCA for a while now, and she just likes working with kids. And she gets a lot of kids that are like spectrum disorder, like light, high functioning, and they seem to relate with her really, really well.
Good.
And so it's one of those things when you feel like you have a calling, I think you should follow it. I really do. And it seems like she, as she's expressed it, it seems like she might have a little bit of a calling right now. You want them to be happy, bro. Successful, yeah, but ultimately happy. Feel like they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, following their bliss.
Congratulations to her again. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome.
Yep.
Pretty.
Yeah.
Well, what do we think?
How about y'all? You're between concert seasons right now, so no activity going on really. Just got the kids at home.
Yes.
You guys have any plans for the summer? Any vacations or anything?
My least favorite part of the year is when the kids are home.
Ooh, let's see if Maddie has something to say about that when we bring her on the
Asking
show.
if she was going to be on the pod this week. I was like, no. She's like, what? What? It's been like weeks. I was like, well, we gotta figure it out, man.
These things take time. We should try and do it one of the next time. We don't have to do both daughters at the same time either. If we can't arrange it that way, if we can't get it.
Well, my daughter can do it whenever I'm doing it. It's really on your end. What your daughter's much older and has a lot more responsibilities than mine. So
she does. In fact, we may have a fifth member on that day because if I'm there and Bella's there, that probably means that there's no one to take care of the baby. So
Christine,
we'll have. Yeah, maybe we'll see. Oh, if we do it on a Monday, we could. Yeah, because she's off on Mondays now. Christine has a 4-day work week now. 4 days, 10 hours a day, that kind of deal.
Nice.
She likes it.
Anything else from you? I think
No. You were saying we got to get back to dad stuff. Let's also do more of that food and stuff because food and beer and those kinds of things because those are very dangerous.
Yeah, I was telling Jim that we need to do like a beer and food tasting, and we can we'll each have like 5 beers in front of us, and we'll pair it with some food, some cheeses, maybe some desserts, and we'll just talk about beer. Talk about
it's one of our strengths. We have the advantage of having an executive chef here on the podcast, so why the fuck not tap into that? And a brewer and an executive chef. I'm gonna eat.
I would not consider myself a brewer too much anymore. It's been a while, but I have made around 100 batches of beer in my life. I have cooked some food a few times in my life. So,
did you know that brewing was a female profession in its infancy? That it would be in England mainly. That's where the beer and in Germany and those parts of Europe where beer was originated, it would be the women in the house that would make the beer, and it would be a supplemental income as well as they didn't drink water back then, really, because it was kind of dangerous to do that, to be honest. So you would usually drink a lot of.
I did know that.
Beer.
I graduated from San Diego State. I took brewing and brewing history.
Sorry about that.
So I did know that. So started in England. Well, it actually started way before that. The first forms of like alcohol or beer came way before that, when grains were left out and it would rain and they would just sit there because they'd be out hunting like for days, 6 days, a week, 2 weeks, and they come back after a rain and they realize that their grains uh, released all these sugars, and once it sat there for so long, it just started making alcohol. With the natural yeast that was in the air already falling into it, and they drank it, and they're like, "Oh, whoa,
Whoa!
what's this?"
Goddamn! Whoa!
So yeah, we could get into all that. We should get into beer. We should get into food. We should get into cars. Why not? I don't know too much about cars, but I'm a
I
big
think that might be a boring episode, Jason.
I'm a big
'Cause
baseball
I don't
card
know
nerd,
cars.
so you ever want to get into that? Sports cards. I don't collect too much baseball, but
Yeah, I did. We should talk about sports cards or about baseball cards because that is an interesting topic as well.
yeah. So
If I told you how many baseball cards my dad lost by putting in the spokes of his
that is the one thing I hear. That my grandpa. I see stories of my grandpa used to have a 1952 Mickey Mantle rookie that he just had in the spokes of his bike, and
that's only $50,000. That's
50. Are you kidding me?
for how much is it? How much is a
Oh my
Mickey
God,
Mantle rookie?
millions, man! And a Gem Mint 10
No, it
Mickey
cannot be.
Mantle is in the millions. I'd have to look, but I want to say one sold for like 33 million, but I could be completely off base. A Michael Jordan rookie, that's in the hundreds of thousands.
Wow.
Yeah, you got to understand. Cards back then, they only made one. You know what I mean? You had one. Now they have hundreds of variations of this card, short prints, numbered cards,
Yeah.
this card, that card. There's hundreds of rookies of just one person. Back then, it was just one. You know what I mean? Just one.
Yep.
So it's a whole crazy world. But yeah, we can get into that. I think we have a lot of good things we can get into. Pivot away from. I think that we'll have some serious episodes and we'll have some not so serious episodes.
Yep.
So
And leave comments for us. Start a conversation that might actually help us decide whether or not we're going to revisit some of these issues. If you say, "Please don't ever talk about Palestine again,"
I don't know that I'll listen to that one. I mean, if something feels like we need to speak about it, we need to speak about it. And it's just
True.
getting it off my chest. And whether I have an audience of 2 or I have an audience of 23 or I have an audience of 10,000, getting it off my chest and just speaking on it helps me a lot. So.
And especially a topic like this, because I got to be honest, I don't even know how to talk about it with other people. This is not a conversation that I've had much. It's just so fucking
I've tried,
but it's so intense.
I have no problem talking about things. I love talking about. I love talking about stuff. The problem is talking with someone who doesn't get so emotional to where they take it to another level. I try not to do that. I try to keep a level head. I have my beliefs. Most people know which way I lean. But I'm not going to sit here and talk to someone who leans a different way and make them feel less than because they feel that way. So, I mean, I try not to.
That's fair.
I try not to.
That's fair. That's fair.
But
yeah. Let me finish like with this. We go to a lot of concerts because we have this season tickets for North Island Credit Union Amphitheater here, and so we get 10 to 16 concerts come through every year, and we go see the ones that we want, and then we sell the ones that we know that we don't, and then we try and find one or two that are maybe outside of our comfort zone that we don't know, just to go and have a different experience, put us in a new environment, right? That's why I saw Chris Stapleton for the first time. It kind of changed my whole view on music, bro. It was so that I cannot, and just imagine having your first experience really hearing that music, having it live right in front of you, like it was, it just kind of reoriented my whole way of thinking. And then we saw a guy named Noah Kahan.
He sings that what is it? The COVID on the plane or something.
Something like that,
Because there's COVID on the plane. Yeah.
He's kind of country.
Season of the something.
You would say he's kind of country, right? Sort of in that Mumford
I would
and Sons
say
way.
he's more of
folk.
bluegrass, folk kind of music.
Yeah, okay, that's country. And so the audience was more of a country audience, you could say, right?
Yeah.
You know, more country leaning. Not in the way that Billy Strings looked like a Deadhead show. You know, there was a lot of country bluegrass people there and stuff, and then there were a lot of Deadhead people that were there. This was not like that. This was more like a working class crowd. They all had like a John Deere hats and stuff like that, like the hat that they sold for merch from Noah's line was a hat that looked like it was John Deere. It was John Deere green, and it had his name on it. And there was a lot of people wearing those hats, and they knew the words to every fucking song. Everyone did. Like we were talking earlier about what it's like to have all that energy when everyone sings along for one song. Imagine what that's like for every fucking song, Jason. And I remember sitting there with Christine because it's not really our crowd, you know. I can honestly say that you know, it was a very white crowd for one, extremely white, and we like a little bit more diversity when we go and hang out in places. I'm just saying.
Have you looked in the mirror,
You
bro?
know, I have. Yeah, I know, but it is what it is. But there was such an happy, positive energy that was going on at that show with this group that I don't normally relate to.
Yeah.
And it made me really, really want to relate. I felt missing out on something. I don't know how to explain that, but there's a cultural thing going on, and there's a purity in that cultural movement that's going on that I'm missing out on. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people in the political world are also missing out on that. There's the energy that's there is being captured by the wrong side, is what I'm trying to say. And I don't know if maybe what we need to do is to do it through the arts. You know, that's the way people communicate. You can break things down more easily when you're not trying to have a prosaic conversation with them, a nonfiction conversation, when you can disguise it in story and, you know, put it into melody and those kinds of things. That's the way that you break through. And I don't know who those sources are today, because most people aren't making music that way anymore. You know,
this is just, like I said in the beginning of this podcast, this is a transition that this country is going through. I don't foresee it lasting forever, but who am I? This is a reset. And what's it going to take? It could take a disaster, a natural disaster of something to reset it. I mean, I'm just saying.
I hate hearing that kind of thing.
Yeah, I hate saying it, but I'm not saying that's the truth. I'm just throwing shit out there, you know. Who knows? But I do feel eventually we're going to look back at this as not a great time in our country, but I think maybe it's going to bring out some people who are going to make a big difference, and we're not going to expect it. And unfortunately, it doesn't come from the Democratic Party because they are not doing jack shit. I think we're going to have some heroes that we don't expect to come out of this, and
we need them.
Yeah, we do. So,
yeah.
I think that's it for the day, brother. I think.
All right, man.
I think we're at 50 minutes.
That was a heavy conversation.
It's been about 2 hours, but you know.
Yeah, we had some tech difficulties again, and yeah.
I think it was my earbuds, man. I had to have been, and that's what I said after like second one. But we're like, why would that do it? You know, but you know, maybe.
And I asked that question still. Why would that do it? It doesn't make any sense to me why that would do it. But whatever.
But cool.
Well, good talk, man. You have a good week. Hope everything's cool for you at work. Yep.
And
to our 23 subscribers.
Let's try to make it 25 by the end of this week. Let's get up to the quarter century mark.
For real. All right, homie. Good talk today.
To you. Peace out. Thank you, everyone.